Secrets of Stoicism. How to accept things as they are. Hello, friends. Today, we're going to talk about one of the most essential Stoic arts, the art of acceptance. About how to stop fighting what is beyond our control and learn to accept life as it is. Without unnecessary tension, without an inner battle, but with peace in our hearts. Why is this topic so relevant today? Because each of us faces situations that are simply out of our hands. A loved one's illness, political crises, unpredictable changes at work, sudden blows from life. We cannot stop these events, but we can choose how we respond to them. Stoicism doesn't teach passivity, it teaches exactly this choice. The ancient philosophers said, "It's not events that cause us suffering, but our judgment of them." And today, I want to show you step by step how Stoic principles help us accept the inevitable, not as a defeat, but as a path to inner freedom. Let's start with the very foundation. The Stoics taught us to distinguish between two main spheres in life. First, what is within our control, our thoughts, our choices, our actions. Second, what lies beyond our control, other people's behavior, external events, the past, and the future. The wisdom of the Stoic is focusing only on the first sphere and accepting everything else with calm. As Epictetus said, it's not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them. But why is this so hard? Why do we keep resisting reality, even though we know this truth? The reason is that our ego always wants control. It fears uncertainty. It craves guarantees. And so, when life doesn't go according to plan, a storm rises inside us, anger, anxiety, despair. We start arguing with what has already happened. But will arguing with the rain stop the rain? Will being upset with winter make the day warmer? The Stoics said, fighting the inevitable is the root of suffering. Acceptance is the first step toward inner liberation. And this doesn't mean passivity. It means, I stop wasting energy on what I cannot change and direct it where it truly makes a difference on my thoughts, my attitude, my actions. And this is where the practice of Stoic acceptance begins. It's built on 3 steps. Step 1, awareness. Notice the moment when you start resisting what has already happened. For example, if your boss raises their voice, or your train is late, or your project isn't appreciated. Pause for a second and ask yourself, am I angry at the event itself, or because I can't change it? This simple pause brings you back to reality. Step 2, discernment. Is this within my control? Can I change something right now? If yes, take action. If not, let it go. As Marcus Aurelius said, receive without pride, let go without attachment. This is not weakness, it is the highest form of courage. Step 3. Act from your inner center. Instead of reacting to the external, I choose an action that reflects my values. I don't shout back when someone shouts at me. I don't panic in the face of change. I hold on to my inner strength. This is how transformation happens. When you learn to accept life as it is, without breaking and without hardening your heart, but staying at peace with yourself, that is the Stoic path. And if this approach resonates with you, subscribe to the channel. Because here, in the comments, you'll find others who are also learning this art, sharing their experience, supporting one another. Let's learn together how to let go of the unnecessary and find inner peace. And now, let's take a closer look at how this principle of acceptance works in real-life situations. Let's imagine a simple situation. You are standing in traffic. Your meeting is in 15 minutes, and the road is completely stuck. Your heart starts beating faster, and thoughts are spinning in your head. Why now? I won't make it. This is terrible. At this moment, your inner struggle with reality begins. But in fact, the traffic jam already exists. You cannot move the cars with the power of thought. And here comes the choice. Either continue wasting energy on anger and anxiety, or pause, take a deep breath, and accept the fact I am here now, and this is beyond my control. What is within my control? To call and warn about the delay, to choose calmness, to save energy for the meeting itself, to listen to a podcast I've been meaning to listen to. This is what Stoic acceptance looks like in action. It is not capitulation, it is a wise redirection of energy to where it truly matters. Another situation, relationships with loved ones. Surely you have faced the fact that someone close or a colleague behaves not the way you would like. The temptation arises to change the person, prove you are right, control their actions. But Stoicism reminds us, the character of another person is beyond your power. You can only influence your own behavior and your own words, and accepting this fact relieves enormous tension. That's why the Stoics said, don't fight the waves, learn to steer your ship. And the earlier you start applying this in small things, the easier it will be to accept life's bigger challenges. Because the art of acceptance begins with everyday training. Let's smoothly move to practice. Let me share with you a few techniques that will help you implement Stoic acceptance into your life today. The first technique is morning preparation. In the morning, remind yourself, today I will inevitably face situations beyond my control. I will accept them calmly and focus on what is within my power, my actions and thoughts. This short practice sets the right inner direction for the whole day. The second technique is the practice of pause. Every time you feel yourself starting to get angry, anxious, or irritated because of external circumstances, stop for 5 seconds. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, is this within my power right now or not? This simple moment of awareness often completely changes our behavior. The third technique is evening reflection. At the end of the day, ask yourself, what caused me tension today? Did I resist reality? How can I act wiser and calmer tomorrow? This practice helps gradually strengthen your inner core. You will see, the more often you train this, the easier it becomes to let go of small irritations and not waste energy fighting the inevitable. And remember, acceptance is not refusal to act. On the contrary, it is the path to clearer, stronger, and more effective actions. When your mind is not clouded by anger and anxiety, you act more wisely, calmly, and effectively. That is why the Stoics considered acceptance not weakness, but the highest virtue. It is a manifestation of inner strength, the ability to look reality in the face, not run from it, not argue with it, but say, I see what is happening, I accept it, and I choose to act with dignity. Friends, if these ideas resonate with you, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Here, we are learning together to strengthen our inner support, share experiences, and support each other on the path to inner peace. Our small community is growing, and you are an important part of it. And now let's go even deeper. Let's analyze how the Stoics learned to accept the hardest blows of fate, how they dealt with losses, defeats, and illnesses without losing their inner light. Let's look at examples from the Stoics themselves. Take Epictetus. He was a slave. Subjected to humiliation and even physical torment, his owners broke his leg, leaving him lame for life. And what did Epictetus do? He accepted this fact as part of reality. He said to himself, my leg is broken, but my inner dignity is not. That is in the power of others. But my virtue is only in my own power. This is Stoic strength, the ability to accept even pain and loss without being destroyed from within. Another Stoic, Marcus Aurelius, was the emperor of Rome. He lost several children, faced betrayals, wars, and illnesses. And yet, he wrote in his meditations, do not expect people around you to act rightly, but act rightly yourself. He taught, you cannot change the flow of fate, but you can manage your inner stance. You can maintain calm, courage, and justice, even in the darkest times. And here is where the main secret of Stoic acceptance is revealed. It is not passive, it is active. Acceptance is the first step, and the second step is choosing a worthy action in response to circumstances. It is precisely this balance, accepting what is beyond control and acting where our power lies, that creates inner resilience. Let's now translate this into our modern language. You lost a project at work. It has already happened, and it cannot be changed. Acceptance is saying to yourself, yes, this happened. I will not resist the fact. And action is analyzing mistakes, drawing conclusions, and looking for new opportunities. This is how Stoicism turns from philosophy into real-life power. Another modern situation, a breakup or conflict with a loved one. The first reaction is the desire to get them back, to change the past, to remake the other person. This is fighting reality. Acceptance is acknowledging the person made their choice, and the past cannot be changed. Action is directing your energy toward your own healing, growth, and development, instead of wasting it on a futile struggle with what has already happened. And you know what happens when you start living this way? Anxiety retreats, because there is no more struggle with the inevitable. There comes a sense of inner freedom. I do everything I can, and I let go of the rest. And it is in this state of calm that the best solutions are born, new strength appears, and new doors open. The Stoics called this living according to nature, and in essence it is living in harmony with reality, not in war with it. And this skill can be trained. Every day, in every little thing. And now I want to show you an even deeper level of acceptance that the Stoics talked about. It is the ability not only to accept external circumstances, but also your own emotions, fears, and weaknesses without judgment, but with wisdom. Let's explore how this works. So, the next level of Stoic acceptance is self-acceptance. Many of us struggle not only with external circumstances, but also with ourselves. We get angry at our weaknesses, feel ashamed of our fears, and blame ourselves for past mistakes. And this inner struggle drains no less energy than trying to control the outside world. Stoicism teaches, be strict with yourself in actions, but kind to yourself in spirit. Acceptance begins with acknowledging the fact, yes, I am human, not a god. I have fears, weaknesses, and moments when I make mistakes, and that's normal. As Epictetus said, do not insult yourself because you are not perfect. Rejoice that you can strive for better. And here an important shift happens. You stop fighting with yourself. You learn to look at your emotions like clouds passing through the sky. They come and go, but they do not define you as a person. Anger is just an emotion. It does not equal your character. Fear is a signal, not a sentence. Accepting your states gives you the ability to manage them with wisdom, rather than suppressing them or exploding. Let's take a simple example. You snapped at a loved one in a moment of stress. The first reaction is guilt and self-flagellation. But Stoic acceptance looks different. Yes, I made a mistake. It already happened. I acknowledge it, learn from it, and move on without losing my dignity. Not fighting with yourself, but growing through your mistakes. Here are some practical steps to train this inner acceptance. First, notice your emotions in the moment without suppressing them. Say to yourself, right now I'm angry. Right now I'm anxious. That's normal. I'm human. This simple recognition already reduces the power of emotions. Second, separate your emotions from your actions. Emotions come automatically, but actions are your choice. As Marcus Aurelius said, you must not let inner agitation spill over into outward action. And third, after a difficult situation, reflect, but not from a position of blame, rather from a position of learning. Ask yourself, what can I understand from this? How can I act better next time? And move forward, without getting stuck in self-condemnation. This is where the real strength of Stoicism lies, in kind strictness toward yourself. Not in perfectionism, not in trying to be a cold stone, but in wise self-management from a place of acceptance and growth. And when you start treating yourself this way, the world around you changes too. You become more tolerant of others' mistakes because you know the cost of your own inner journey. You stop wasting energy fighting the inevitable and direct it toward cultivating virtue, courage, wisdom, temperance, and justice. This is the path of Stoic tranquility, when you don't wait for ideal conditions outside and don't demand perfection from yourself, but step by step build an inner fortress, the very inner backbone the Stoics spoke of. And if this approach resonates with you, let me remind you to subscribe to the channel, because here we are creating a community of people who walk this path, learning to accept life, themselves, and others as they are, and at the same time not giving up, but growing. Subscribe and write in the comments which Stoic practices are already helping you in life. Let's learn from each other and support this path of calm and strength. And ahead of us lies an even deeper topic: how the Stoics learned to accept even death itself as a part of life, not as an enemy. And it is precisely this teaching that gives astonishing inner freedom. Let's talk about it right now. So, let's talk about what the Stoics considered the highest form of acceptance of life's finiteness. For many people, the very thought of death brings fear, anxiety, and the desire to avoid the topic. But the Stoics, on the contrary, taught to look it straight in the eye, not out of gloominess, but out of the desire to free oneself from fear and learn to truly live. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not act as if you are going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you, while you live, while you can become good." These words remind us, finiteness gives meaning to every one of our days, precisely because everything will one day end. Every morning, every conversation, every action is precious. The Stoics practiced what today's psychologists call memento mori, remembrance of death. They did not deny death, but taught to see it as a natural part of nature, like the change of day and night, like the cycle of life. And in this acceptance, fear disappears, because what is natural cannot be evil. Let's see how this can be applied in daily life, without pathos or extremes. First is reminding yourself of the value of the present moment. When you catch yourself getting irritated over trifles, a traffic jam, someone's words, ask yourself, will this matter when I look back on my life as a whole? Most often, the answer is obvious, and this helps let go of small grudges and return to the present. Second is gratitude for what we already have. The Stoics taught, don't strive for endless accumulation, but learn to appreciate what is already present in your life. As Seneca said, it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor. When you accept finiteness, you begin to truly value moments with loved ones, the beauty of nature, simple joys. Third is preparing your mind for change. We fear losses, we fear aging, we fear changes precisely because we cling to the illusion of eternity. But the Stoics taught to see changes as the natural flow of life, like leaves that fall in autumn to make room for new ones in spring. And this acceptance does not make us passive. On the contrary, it frees us from fear and gives us the strength to act here and now. As long as we live, we have the opportunity to cultivate virtues, help others, and build our inner fortress. But to do this, we must let go of fighting the inevitable and direct our energy where it is truly fruitful. A practical exercise for you, simple but deep. Try several times a day to remind yourself, this moment will not come again. I am not eternal, and that's why this is precious. Not as a reason for sadness, but as an invitation to live consciously. Try saying words of gratitude to a loved one that you haven't said in a long time. Try enjoying a simple cup of tea without being distracted by thoughts of the future. It is in these small acts that Stoic acceptance of life, as it is in all its transience and beauty, is born. And when you start looking at life through this lens, anxiety fades away. Instead of fear comes respect for the moment. Instead of the desire to control everything, trust in the natural course of things. And it is this that opens the way to inner peace, which does not depend on external storms. And now I will share even more practical techniques how to train acceptance in stressful situations, at work, in relationships, when emotions overwhelm you. So, let's move on to specific methods that can help you train Stoic acceptance in real life, especially where it's hardest in moments of stress, in conflicts, at work, and in relationships. Because it's precisely in these situations that our philosophy is truly put to the test. The first technique is called the Stoic Stop. When you feel the situation is spiraling out of control, emotions boiling over, remind yourself of a simple formula. Stop. What here depends on me, and what does not. This instant distinction brings you back to your inner anchor and prevents you from drowning in external chaos. For example, in an argument with a colleague, you can't control their words, but you can control your own reaction. Stuck in traffic, you can't speed up the cars, but you can choose to get anxious or to use this time for deep breathing. The second method is the practice of micro-acceptance. These are small, conscious steps where you train your mind to let go of control over little things, so it becomes easier to let go of bigger things later. For example, when it rains and you had planned a walk instead of irritation, tell yourself, "This is the nature of things. I accept this and adapt." Or when your favorite cafe is closed, instead of feeling annoyed, choose another place and be grateful for the new experience. These small acts of acceptance build a kind of muscle memory for handling more complex situations. The third technique is setting your expectations. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "In the morning, say to yourself, 'Today I will meet people who are rude, ungrateful, arrogant.'" This is not pessimism, it's a wise reminder. The world is not obliged to match our expectations. And if you're prepared in advance for people's imperfections, for life's unpredictability, it's much harder to throw you off balance. For example, before an important meeting, remind yourself, "I will do everything that depends on me, but I accept that not everything may go as planned, and that's okay." This mindset reduces stress and allows you to act from a place of inner calm rather than anxiety. The fourth practice is daily evening reflection. At the end of the day, ask yourself 3 questions. 1. Where today was I able to accept things as they are? 2. Where did I resist needlessly? 3. How can I be wiser about this tomorrow? This simple habit strengthens your acceptance skills day by day, like regular training for the mind. The fifth technique is working with the body. Remember, acceptance is not only a mental act, but also a physical relaxation. When you catch yourself feeling tense, clenched shoulders, tight jaw, take a conscious pause and relax. Take a deep breath in and exhale. Release the tension in your body, and with it, part of your inner resistance will also fade. Body and mind are interconnected, and through the body, we can teach the mind greater trust in life. And finally, the sixth method, which is very powerful. I call it stepping back or perspective. When a problem feels huge and overwhelming, imagine looking at it from above, from a bird's eye view. Then go even higher, as if from space, looking down at a tiny point on the planet. And ask yourself, how important is this in the grand scheme of my life, in the entire history of humanity? This simple visualization can instantly lower your anxiety and bring your mind back to acceptance. Try choosing at least one of these techniques today and applying it in practice. Don't rush to master everything at once. Start small. Gradually, your ability to accept will grow, like a muscle that gets stronger with each repetition. And remember, Stoicism is not dry theory, it's the living art of acting wisely in real, everyday circumstances. And this is exactly where its power lies. If you feel this path resonates with you, subscribe to the channel. Here, we're not just studying philosophy, we're learning to apply it in life, to become calmer, stronger, and more resilient. Subscribe and join our community of people who choose inner strength over fighting the inevitable.